check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check.
Please rise as the Sifrei Torah, the Torah scrolls, enter the sanctuary. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for those whose hearts are true. Bruchim habayim, welcome. Last week, we gathered together to celebrate Rosh Hashanah. Now we are here to conclude the 10 days of repentance with Yom Kippur. The mood of the holy days changed from joy to solemnity as we prepare for the next 25 hours in prayer and in dialogue with ourselves, with the people in our lives, and with our Creator. Yom Kippur opens with a reminder of the incredible power of the words that come out of our mouths, of our speech. Kol Nidre is an ancient custom in which we legally nullify vows that we made but were unable to fulfill. There have been times when the practice of reciting Kol Nidre has been challenged because it was used to paint Jews as untrustworthy. But Jewish tradition teaches us that Kol Nidre only absolves us of our uncompleted vows to God. God chooses at the beginning of the year to give us another chance to start over again. In contrast, Kol Nidre affirms that the words we say to the other people around us must be held sacred. Kol Nidre is an Aramaic legal formula, and as we recite it, we are meant to imagine ourselves standing before a Beit Din, before a court. The Torah scrolls which we display represent the Dayanim, the judges. And we recite Kol Nidre 3 times because a declaration made 3 times in Jewish law is considered binding. Let's open our Machzorim, the special high holiday prayer books, to page 204. At the bottom of the page, Bishiva Shel Mala.
Bishiva Shel Mala Uvishiva Shel Mata Al Dat HaMakom Ve'al Dat HaKahal Anu Matirin Lehi
By the authority of the court on high and by the authority of this court below, with divine consent and with the consent of this congregation, we grant permission to pray with those who have transgressed. Page 205, Kol Nidre. All vows, renunciations, bans, oaths, formulas of obligation, pledges, and promises that we vow or promise to ourselves and to God, from this Yom Kippur to the next, may it approach us for good, we hereby retract. May they all be undone, repealed, canceled, voided, annulled, and regarded as neither valid nor binding. Our vows shall not be considered vows, our renunciations shall not be considered renunciations, and our promises shall not be considered promises.
Kol Nidre Service, Vacharamei Vekonamei, Vechinuyei, Vekinusei, Ulshavut, Yom Kippurim ze ad Yom Kippurim haba, ad Yom Kippurim haba, Adinu letova. Kol icharat navion, kol hon yehon sharan, shvikin shvitin, betelin umevutalin, לשרירין ולקיימים נדרנה לנדרי ויסרנה.
「
Lord.
Lord.
Kol Nidre V'acharmei V'konamei V'chinuyei V'kinusei U'shevut Yom Kippurim ze ad Yom Kippurim haba ad Yom Kippurim haba Alinu letova Kulon icharat navihon Kulon yehon sharai shevikin shevitin betelin umevutalin Sheririn vela kayamin nidrana la nidre viesarana la esare
The entire congregation of the people of Israel shall be forgiven, as well as the stranger who dwells among them, for all have erred. The middle of the page, V'nislach.
V'nislach lechol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lagir hagar b'tocham ki lechol ham bishkaga v'nislach b'chol וכאשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים ועד הנה, ושם נאמר. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. ויאמר אדוני, סלחתי כדבריך. סלחתי כדבריך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, creator of the universe, for granting us life, for sustaining us, and for bringing us to this sacred moment. We remain standing for just a few more moments as the Torah scrolls are returned to the Ark. As the Ark is closed, you may be seated. And the big Yasher Koach to the taller members of our community. Thank you all. I'm happy to introduce the president of Temple Israel's Board of Trustees, Amy Yudoff. And Amy is beginning her second year, is into her second year as Congregation's president, the second president that I'm working with here. And can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your extremely hands-on approach and all the ways that you have been so instrumental in making the high holidays happen this year. So Amy, I'm happy to turn the pulpit over to you to share some words with the congregation.
am so proud to stand here before you tonight, and I'm proud to represent Temple Israel. Temple Israel has always been so important to me, and I will forever be grateful to serve as the Temple Israel's president and to be able to see the synagogue from the inside out. It is truly a special, special place. A lot of you may not know what goes on daily at Temple Israel and all of the goodness that happens behind the scenes. I am excited that we are starting the process to develop a strategic plan for Temple Israel this year. As a part of the strategic plan, we will be listening to focus groups of our congregants, and we look forward to hearing from all of you. Our future is bright with our senior Rabbi Wolk and Cantor Lissick as our clergy team, and I will share more about the work to be done by your Board of Trustees, the clergy, and the professional staff of the process as the year progresses. On the high holidays, we thank not only the Creator, but also the congregation and our staff who work tirelessly to make our sacred place gatherings possible. Together, we build a bridge of connection, weaving our faith and community, biachad, together. I'd like to give my deepest thank you to our amazing clergy, Senior Rabbi Michael Wolk and Cantor Lissick. You both bring so much joy and spirituality to our synagogue. And thank you to our Director of Congregational Education, Rabbi Helene Kornsgold, for educating our youth at our religious school. And a special thank you to our incredibly special and hardworking and really awesome office staff who work so diligently every day to help our congregational family. Thank you to our Board of Trustees, who are made up of men and women of ages 28 to 80, with a variety of different backgrounds and unique perspectives, and our past presidents for your continued support and involvement at Temple Israel. Our auxiliary leaders, our volunteers, and the women who work in the gift shop who are always willing to help. Our committee chairs, our greeters, our Gabbaim, our Torah and Haftorah readers, and our minyan makers. We simply cannot do anything that we do without all of our lay leaders and volunteers. I have been in awe of your passion and commitment for those of you who have stepped up day after day, week after week, and year after year. I'd also personally like to thank my friends, my husband Ross, and my parents, Dorothy and Norman Shapiro. I could not serve in this role at Temple Israel without their support and the help with the kids. I love you. So tonight, I'm here to talk about something that is probably at the forefront of your mind: food. The Torah itself commands the observance of the Sabbath as a day of rest and sanctification. It is in the Torah that the importance of remembering and keeping the Sabbath day holy is emphasized. Over the centuries, Jewish tradition has evolved to include partaking of a meal together after Shabbat services and life cycle events. Kiddush has become an integral part of Temple Israel's Shabbat and holiday observances. We also have our Oneg Shabbats, meaning the mitzvah of being joyful on Shabbat. If you have attended our family services over Rosh Hashanah or have been to our Friday night services with TI Kids Sing, Class Shabbats, or the joy of celebrating a B'nai Mitzvah, baby namings, and Ufraf, and conversions, you have witnessed the joy of Shabbat. There is something about Jewish people and the gathering of food and celebrating the joy with our congregational family. When we break bread, we build community and we are together, biachad. Over the past year, the topic of the most discussions that I've had with our congregants surrounds Kiddush. I asked some of our TI family to talk more about it. Michael Abadi says it's an opportunity to gather and socialize with friends who he does not normally see. The culmination of Shabbat morning services emphasizing the group spirit of our Kehillah and the stakeholders of Temple Israel. We should continue to be the well-being of our organization by donating to our Kiddush Fund. Tamara Norman says it's a time to welcome newcomers and make connections. It's a time to relax. And Ruth and Frank Paul enjoy celebrating simchas with our congregants. It's more than a bagel and cream cheese. It's a time to socialize with fellow congregants, biachad, together. Brian Ablett says it's about community, to connect with old friends, make new ones, and to watch the youngest generation, the children, as they too become integrated into our wonderful Charlotte home. And Leon Berkowitz gave me a laugh when he mentioned someone toasting on your birthday. May you live to be 120. And his reply, no, I want to live to be 100, but feel like I'm 20. I appreciate what Jan Weiner says, that Kiddush is a nourishment of the body, soul, and community. It's time for our synagogue family to come together, to engage new members, to share good news, to comfort each other, and to break bread together as a community, biachad, together. We have proactively secured a special grant for this fiscal year from the Jewish Federation of Greater Charlotte to help offset the cost of some of our Shabbat dinners and gatherings. I know that this may sound a bit unbelievable, but the cost of food has become a challenge for everyone, and it's hard to keep up. Tonight, we're offering an opportunity for giving to our weekly Kiddush to help with our gatherings and to help with other gatherings with our annual High Holiday Appeal. In a moment, I will ask you to take your pledge cards, and you will see different tabs of approximate Kiddush upgrades. There's also an opportunity to sponsor a Kiddush or a deli lunch in honor of your own simcha. If you choose one of these, we'll reach out to you in the coming weeks to pick a Shabbat. And if Kiddush isn't your thing, turn down the contact me and a dollar amount, and we will allocate your funds to something that speaks to you. We always welcome these annual pledges for our General Operations Funds, which serves as one of our 3 revenue streams, along with annual commitments and our annual fundraiser. I challenge each of you to pick a meaningful pledge tonight. Think and talk with your partner and families about what is meaningful to you. I am proud to announce that the entire Temple Israel Board of Trustees are participating in the appeal tonight. And this pledge will continue to sustain us for this upcoming year and will support Kiddush and biachad together. Most importantly, I would like to thank you, all of our congregants, for your generosity and believing in Temple Israel. Thank you for providing 125 years of stability to our synagogue, and thank you for allowing future generations to experience their Judaism at Temple Israel to make the same connections, friendships, and sense of community that we have. Thank you for showing up and meeting us here throughout the year. As always, please reach out. I'm here to listen and talk with you. Our common love of our tradition and our sense of faith and our sense of belonging and friendships bonds us together. Biachad. This is our Jewish home and our Jewish community, and one that has come together for over 125 years with a shared commitment for Lador Vador to pass on from generation to generation. Gomer Hatima Tova, may you be inscribed and sealed in the book of life for a year of happiness, health, peace, and prosperity, and may our sacred community continue to be blessed. Thank you. There's people coming through the aisles as well to collect appeal cards, and thank you again.
I echo Amy's appreciation of all of you, and my words in favor of contributing to this appeal and supporting the Temple Israel Kiddush Fund is exactly in line with what Amy said. I get to walk around during Kiddush, and I try to hit as many tables as possible on Shabbat morning. And I love that at the end, the people who sit around the longest are both the oldest and the youngest members of the community. And it's kind of great to see that combination. One of those groups is running around a lot, the other one not so much, but it's an inspiring and beautiful scene, and I'm lucky to have my family as part of it each and every Shabbat. Let's turn in the Machzorim to page 207. The next part of Kol Nidre evening is the Mariv Arvit, the evening service chanted in the special melodies of the Yamim Noraim. Page 207. Please rise for the Baruch Hu. may be seated. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars and their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from before the light.
Umavir yom, umevi laila, umavdir ben yom, uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, elachai v'kayam tamid, yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai.
Page 208, Ahavat Olam, led by Liza Simon.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shoch beinu kumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam ad. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Chayenu ve'orech yamenu v'hem negeh yomam v'layla v'yavatecha tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai. את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
On page 209. ויאמר אדוני משה לאמור דבר על בני ישראל ואמרת להם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי ודמים ותרשמו על ציצית על כנף תל תחכם לציצית לא אתם תזכרתם במזמן ועשיתם למען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני לכם אשר יצאכם מארץ ישראל לאלוהיכם לאלוהים אני לכם אמת.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Amen. Hakazov v'kem aleinu. Ki ana Eloheinu me'ezatav v'nachni Yisrael. Ha'oseh gedolot ad chayim k'mezah. Then Moses, Miriam, and the people of Israel joyfully sang this song to you on the banks of the sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Middle of page 210.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל לחנו שירה. בשמחה רבה ויאמרו מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדור בקודש, נורות עילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע יום לפני משה, זה לי אנו ואמרו ונאמר כי בדרנה את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני. גל ישראל.
Allow us, Adonai our God, to sleep peacefully and awaken us again to life. Blessed are you who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 211, the nighttime prayer, Hashkivenu.
Let's join together. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom leshalom. Ve'ha'amidenu Malkeinu lechayim lechayim ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha shlomecha. When I lay down at night, when I השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל
For on this day atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your transgressions. In the presence of the Lord you shall be pure. Page 212. Please rise in the middle of the page. Ki vayom hazeh.
כי ביום הזה יכפר לכם לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם לפני אדוני תטהרו יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דיברך יריותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה ישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לילה ולילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעמה וימרו אמן.
We spend the next few moments in silent prayer with the words of the Amidah for Yom Kippur evening, beginning on page 213.
When you've completed your Amidah, you may be seated. Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru amen, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom al kol yoshvei tevel.
Good Yontiv, everyone. Chag Sameach. So tonight I'd like to tell you about one day this past year that changed my life. If you saw me on the Bima last year on the high holidays, you probably remember I had glasses. Well, I've worn those glasses since 4th grade to see distance. Like many people, I started with very thick, sturdy glasses appropriate for little kids in the early 90s. Then in high school, I went to totally minimalist, very light frames. Over the last few years, the frames got bigger again as I switched to more stylish plastic frames. But no matter what set of glasses I was wearing, I could not stand wearing them. I was frustrated by my inability to see, and I really just did not like the feel of having glasses on my face. As many of you have experienced, it gets worse when you have kids who knock them off or who knock them into your eyes or who want you to take them swimming. Now, this is of course a very minor and common problem to have, but it was my problem, and I did not like it. So with the encouragement of my wife, I finally went to see an ophthalmologist to see if I was a candidate for LASIK surgery, and I was. So I scheduled the procedure for the first open time slot the doctor had, which was over a month away. And even though the doctor had performed the surgery thousands of times and predicted good results, the promise seemed too good to be true. Was it really possible to fix a problem I've had almost my entire life? 2 days before the surgery, the bill arrived in my email, and I had to decide if I was in or not. So I paid the not insubstantial cost. The day of the procedure, I showed up at the doctor's office. I was scared. I get a little squeamish about my eyes. The procedure was certainly uncomfortable, but it was over before I knew it, and incredibly, I was on the way home again in under an hour. I went right to sleep, as the doctor told me to do, and I woke up and had no idea if the procedure had worked. Was my vision different than it was before? I looked through that last set of glasses, the ones that I had used for several years before that, and I couldn't see a thing. Wow. Over the next few days, I realized the procedure had worked. I could see. While wearing glasses is only a minor inconvenience, I've truly enjoyed and appreciated my restored vision and the feeling of freedom from those glasses. There's a bracha, there's a blessing that we say each morning in Berchot HaShachar, in the morning blessings, thanking God who is Pokeach Ivrim, who gives sight to the blind, opens the eyes of the blind. And the first time I recited that, after the procedure, really felt that blessing. So I went out and celebrated by buying a nice pair of sunglasses. First pair in many, many years. And I will always remember March 9th, 2023 as the day. The day that I started with something that I did not like about myself. By the end of the day, that something was gone. It was fixed, just like that. All I had to do was pay for it, suffer some relatively minor discomfort, and put myself in a skilled expert's hands. No big deal. Why didn't I do that years ago? Yom Kippur is the day in Jewish tradition. The Mishnah, the 2nd century law code that describes each of the holidays, calls the tractate dedicated to Yom Kippur Yoma, Aramaic for the day. And on this day, to know what happens, we turn to the verse that we chanted just a few moments ago before the Amidah. For on this day, you will be atoned and made pure of all your sins. In the presence of God, you will be purified. But how does this miraculous change happen? How does it take place? Well, the ancient sources that talk about Yom Kippur in the temple sound to me like a LASIK-type procedure. The Torah, the Mishnah, and the Talmud, and later works that describe that Yom Kippur as it was observed in ancient Jerusalem, describe a day where most of the Jewish people are passive observers to the work of that day, the avodah that will affect their lives in the year to come. The central character is the Kohen Gadol, or the high priest, who supervises and carries out the avodah, the elaborate rituals of sacrifice, of incense, of confession, of immersion, and the selection of the scapegoat to be sent away. Everyone else who is not a Kohen, is not a priest, cannot even enter the temple. They wait outside anxiously all day for the high priest to come forth. And then they celebrate with massive feasts and parties because they know that atonement has taken place and that God has granted them forgiveness and a fresh start. All they had to do was pay for communal sacrifices, suffer the minor discomfort of fasting, and place their fates in the hand of a skilled expert. Who thinks life is that simple? Nope. Sadly, we know that most things that are important and worth doing are not as simple as paying for someone else to do it for you. This year, in my lifelong learning holiday classes, I am teaching through Abigail Pogrebin's wonderful book, My Jewish Year, 18 Holidays, One Wandering Jew. In this book, Pogrebin, who describes herself as a proudly cultural but lightly educated Jew, decides that she will spend 1 year learning about and then observing every Jewish holiday to the fullest extent. The 18 chapters of the book are made up of her reflections on each holiday, be it as happy as Hanukkah or as sad as Tisha B'Av. She begins with the month of Elul, the final month of the year, and finds great meaning in different practices that help her judge herself in the lead up to the high holidays. But when she gets to Yom Kippur, she is disappointed. She opens her chapter on the Day of Judgment with a lament that maybe things were better back when we turned to the priests for our atonement. She says, "I vote to bring back the goat." On Yom Kippur, the mighty day of atonement, the days of the ancient temple, all sins were symbolically heaped on an actual goat, the original scapegoat, which was then sent off to some undefined land called Azazel. I needed a cloven-hoofed animal to cart my sins away on Yom Kippur, because carrying them around in my head was taxing. Praying all day was hard for me. Pounding my heart with my fist in synagogue did not break it open. She spends Yom Kippur attending services at multiple synagogues around Manhattan. But after the sun has set and the final shofar blast has sounded, she does not feel like the day changed her. She says, "I did see new things, but not enough of them. Something got in the way of complete candor or apology. Maybe because real repentance is too raw to do in a public place. Maybe because I'm too afraid to really consider that I or someone else close to me might have transgressed enough to be punished. My life is being weighed," taught her Rabbi Yitz Greenberg. "I am on trial for my life. If life ended now, would it have been worthwhile? I couldn't bring myself to answer that, and no prayer forced me to." So why was it that she failed on Yom Kippur? Why did all of her praying, her fasting, and her beating of her chest not bring her to a feeling of atonement? Well, to understand that, I have to tell you about another day for me this year and another trip to the doctor. You're going to learn more about me than you ever wanted to know. Fresh off the miraculous restoration of my vision, I went in for my annual physical, and my doctor told me that thing that men in their upper 30s hear, that I have high cholesterol. To address this, he prescribed me a medication. Wanting to know more, I had lots of questions about this medication. But each time I asked a question about the medicine, the doctor said the same thing like a refrain. "I'm prescribing this medication, but for it to work, you need to drop a few pounds, exercise regularly, and limit your consumption of red meat and alcohol." Disappointed, I asked, only somewhat in jest, "And how much more would I have to pay for the medicine that works without me doing all of that?" He's a good doctor, and he didn't think that was too funny. Because real change requires work. The doctor understands what Yom Kippur is all about. He understands that there is no such thing as the day when you want to change your life. Rather, your life is determined by the choices you make each and every day over a long period of time. In fact, I bet my doctor would like Rambam, Maimonides, who wrote a whole section in his law code about Hilchot Tshuva, the laws of Tshuva, the laws of repentance. And quite insightfully, Rambam taught with no temple and no Kohen, no priest to miraculously atone for us, the process of Tshuva, of change, is a lengthy one. And he teaches, in a selection I shared last Shabbat, Yesh averot shehen mitkaprim l'sha'atan. There are sins that can be atoned for immediately. V'yesh averot she'en mitkaprim ele la'achar zman. And other sins which can only be atoned for over the course of time. You don't know the result until much later on. We are about to begin the Slichot section of the Yom Kippur prayers. Each of the 5 services that we recite on Yom Kippur contains a number of penitential prayers and confessions, because forgiveness and confession stand in a complementary relationship to one another. Confession, as we recite it, is the human realization that our lives are imperfect, that we are flawed. So the message for us today is that Yom Kippur, is not only about what we have done in the past, what we think about when we beat our chests, or what we do now on the day. It is perhaps more importantly focused on the future. The day of Yom Kippur is only successful if you are inspired, if you are moved, if you become committed to changing something in the days and the months ahead. Unlike the Yom Kippur of ancient times that promised a LASIK-like fix to whatever you are doing wrong, our Yom Kippur comes every year to remind us that we do have the potential for true tshuva, for true change. It's in each of us, but we have to choose to make each and every day a little bit like Yom Kippur. Let's turn in the Machzorim to the Slichot service. These beautiful penitential prayers, composed mostly in the Middle Ages, that include a series of piyutim, of poems related to the themes of the day. And in a few moments, we're going to recite what is perhaps the most important prayer on Yom Kippur. It's not the Kol Nidre, which we recited a few moments ago, and you all were on time for, which was great. It is the Yud Gimel Midot, the 13 attributes of God, our ultimate prayer of asking God for the ability to change, and asking God forgiveness for our wrongs on Yom Kippur. Let's turn to page 223. I invite you to rise as the ark is opened for the poem Ya'aleh Tachanunenu Me'erev. May our supplication rise up at evening.
Ya'aleh Tachanunenu Me'erev V'yavo Shavatenu Miboker V'yirah Rinunenu Ad Arev V'yirah Rinunenu Ad Arev Ya'aleh Koleinu Me'erev.
May our supplication rise up at evening, our pleas arrive with the dawn, our songs transform the dusk. May our voices rise up at evening, our righteous acts arrive with the dawn, our redemption transform the dusk. May our suffering rise up at evening, our forgiveness arrive with the dawn, our purity transform the dusk. May our prayers rise up at evening, coming to you with the dawn, transforming us at dusk as the day comes to a conclusion.
Ya'aleh Katenu Me'erev V'yavo Elecha Miboker V'yirah Eleinu Ad Arev V'yirah Eleinu Ad Arev.
The ark is closed. You may be seated. Let's turn to the top of page 225. The soul is yours. The body is your creation. Have compassion on your handiwork. The soul is yours. The body is yours. Deal with us according to your nature. Haneshama lach.
Haneshama lach v'haguf polach chusa 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 alam alach haneshama lach v'haguf shelach Adonai aseh aseh lemon shemecha. Atanu על שמך אדוני, עשה למען שמך, בעבור כבוד שמך אדוני, כי רחום וחנון שמך, למען שמך אדוני, וסלחת לעווננו כי רבו, הנשמה לך והגוף פה לך, חוסה 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 על המלאך.
According to Jewish tradition, today, the 10th day of Tishrei, was selected as Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the Day of Judgment, because this is the day in the desert at the foot of Mount Sinai when God forgives our oldest ancestors, the Israelites, after they turn to worship of the golden calf. Moses spends 40 days on the top of the mountain begging God to forgive, and finally on the first Yom Kippur, God relents. And Moses recites for the first time the prayer that we call the 13 attributes of God, Adonai, Adonai, El, Rachum, V'Chanun, God merciful and compassionate, patient, abounding in love and faithfulness, assuring love for thousands of generations, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin, and granting us pardon. And according to Jewish tradition, we say this verse, we describe God whenever we turn to God for forgiveness. And the Midrash and the Talmud record a beautiful teaching that Moses didn't know what words to say to God, what to ask God when he was up on Mount Sinai. So God prompted Moses. The Midrash describes God appearing to Moses like a shaliach tzibor, a cantor, a member of a congregation, wrapped in a talit, wrapped in a prayer shawl, and teaching this prayer to Moses. And so we recite it multiple times on Yom Kippur. But I wanted to share an insight about this prayer from the book I quoted before from Abigail Pograbin, who commented that it seems a little bit odd. It seems a little bit insecure of God to require 13 compliments in exchange for mercy. But then she suggests another possible reading of this prayer. Maybe God is telling us these attributes of mine should also be yours. Emulate them and live by them. They are a list of attributes that describe God as patient, as loving, as forgiving, as easy to appease. But while we describe God in this way, on Yom Kippur, we strive to make these characteristics our own. Page 226, please rise at the bottom of the page.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed Ve'emet Notzer וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחלנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני וסלח ורב חסד בכל קוראיך.
Forgive us, our Creator, for we have sinned. Pardon us, our Sovereign, for we have transgressed. For you, Adonai, are kind and forgiving. You act generously to all who call on you. You may be seated. Page 227, the poem Ki Hine Kachomer, as clay in the hands of the potter. Each verse, each phrase imagines us as a different raw material shaped by God. It's a beautiful poem because it expresses the potential that is in each of us, the raw materials that we are gifted by God that can be shaped over the course of our lives. Page 227, Ki Hine Kachomer.
ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקצר, כן אנחנו בידך חסד נוצר, לברית הבית ואל תפן ליצר, כי הנה כאבן ביד המסתת, ברצותו אוחז וברצותו מקטט, כן אנחנו בידך מחיה וממוטט, לברית הבית ואל תפן ליצר.
As iron in the hand of the blacksmith who forges or withdraws it at will, so are we in your hand, support of the poor. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser. As glass in the hand of the glazer who shapes or melts it at will, so are we in your hand, pardoner of sin and transgression. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser. As cloth in the hand of the draper who drapes or twists it at will, so are we in your hand, righteous God. Recall your covenant, do not heed the accuser. God, you taught us how to recite the 13 attributes of your name. Remember the promise implied in these 13 attributes, which you first revealed to Moses, the humble one. As it is written, God descended in a cloud and stood beside him, and he called the name of the Lord. Page 229, El Melech Yoshev.
El Melech Yoshev al kiseh, Rachamim מתנהג בחסידות, מוחל עוונות עמו, מעביר ראשון, מרבה מחילה לחטאים,
please rise.
אל הורית לנו לומר 13, זכר לנו היום ברית 13, כמו שהודעת לנה מקדם, כמו שכתוב וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייסב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויעבור אדוני על פניו, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed, V'Emet, Noter וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו וחטאנו מכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
We turn to page 233, second paragraph in the page. The ark is open for the prayer Shema Koleinu. Hear our voice, Adonai our God, be kind and have compassion for us. Willingly and lovingly accept our prayer. Turn us toward you, Adonai, and we will return to you. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva. Make our days seem fresh as they once were. Page 233, Shema Koleinu.
Hashivenu,
Do not cast us away as we grow old. Do not desert us as our energy wanes. Do not abandon us, Adonai our God. Do not distance yourself from us. The ark is closed. You may be seated. Page 234, top of the page. Ki anu amecha, the prayer describing our relationship with God in many different metaphors. Page 234.
Eloheinu Eloi Avotenu v'imotenu selach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu ki anu amecha v'ata Eloheinu anu amecha v'ata avinu anu avadecha v'ata Adonenu anu ke'alecha v'ata cherkeinu anu nachalatecha v'ata goralenu anu tzomnecha v'ata ro'enu anu charmecha v'ata notrenu anu feulatecha v'ata yotrenu anu rayatecha v'ata dodenu anu segulatecha v'ata kerovenu anu amecha v'ata malkeinu anu mamirecha v'ata mamirenu.
In the Talmud, the rabbis discuss the nature of sin. And Rav Huna makes a strange statement. He says, Kevan she'avar adam avera v'shana ba hutra lo. When a person transgresses and then repeats his transgressions, it is permitted to him. And the Gemara challenges that. Can it really be so that just because you do something twice, it is permitted? Rather, it says, read it, it becomes as if it were permitted to him. And Rav Huna is pointing out the idea that when we do something that we feel is wrong, first time feels wrong. Second time, a little bit less wrong. By the third time, in the words of the Talmud, becomes a mitzvah. You've convinced yourself it's what you're supposed to be doing. Each service on Yom Kippur includes a vidui, a confession, in which we recite a litany of sins. Hopefully, none of us are guilty of all of them. But they are meant to prompt us to think about what are the things that we've convinced ourselves are okay? What are those things that felt wrong the first time we did it, but slowly drifted over into something that we just had to do? Before we introduce the traditional vidui, Penina Polsky leads us in Ve'al Kulam.
Am I there for those who need me, giving of my heart completely? Have I been caring and have I been patient? Have I forgiven without reservation? Do I take my days for granted? Treated others even-handed? And shown compassion to the homeless stranger? Have I been humble before my Creator? Ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elohai Slichot, ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elohai Slichot, ve'al kulam.
Have I tread lightly on the planet? Have I held fast to your commandment? And have I raised my voice against injustice? Have I been giving or have I been selfish? ועל כולם, ועל כולם, אלוהי סליחות, ועל כולם,
ועל כולם,
ועל כולם,
ועל כולם,
ועל כולם, אלוהי סליחות, ועל כולם, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו, ועל כולם, סלח לנו, כפר לנו, מחל לנו, ועל כולם,
ועל כולם,
אשא עיניי
ועל כולם,
אל ההרים,
אלוהי סליחות,
מאין יבוא עזרי,
ועל כולם,
נעים
ועל
אדוני,
כולם,
אדוני,
אלוהי סליחות,
עושה שמיים וארץ.
Page 235. Please rise for the shorter confession, the Ashamnu, repeated phrase by phrase after the cantor.
Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Agadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Evinu,
Evinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Hamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tafanu Sheker,
Afalnu Sheker.
Ay, 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 Yatsnura,
Yatsnura,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latsnu,
Latsnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Niatsnu,
Niatsnu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Pashanu,
Ashanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Kishinu Oref,
Shinu Oref,
Ay, 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 Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichanu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu,
Titanu,
Titanu.
Sarnu mimitzvotecha umimishpatecha tovim velo shavolanu ve'ata tzadik al kol habalenu ki emet asita v'anachnu
Page 237, the longer confession, the Al-Khait. For the sin we have sinned against you unwillingly and willingly, and for the sin we have sinned against you through hardening our hearts.
על חטא שחטא לפניך באונס וברצון, ועל חטא שחטא לפניך באימוץ הלב.
ושנו לפניך בביטוי שפתיהם, ושנו לפניך בגילוי הרעות, ושנו לפניך בלב הזיתר, ושנו לפניך בדעת ובאמת, ושנו לפניך בביטוי, ושנו לפניך בנעת רע, ושנו לפניך בהרהור הלב, ושנו לפניך בזנות, ושנו לפניך בביטוי, ושנו לפניך בזלזול הרמים.
על חטא שחטא לפניך ביצר הרע, ועל חטא שחטא לפניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו. lanu mechalanu kaper lanu al chait shechat lefanecha bechachash uvchazav ve'al chait shechat lefanecha bechapat shochad.
For the sins we have sinned against you by clever cynicism, and for the sins we have sinned against you by speaking ill of others. לפניך במאכל ובמשתה, ולפניך בנשך ובמביב, ולפניך בדיעקרון.
על חית שחטא לפניך בעיניים רמות, ועל חית שחטא לפניך בעזות מצח, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו. על חית שחטא לפניך בפריקת עול, ועל חית שחטא לפניך בפלילות.
For the sins we have sinned against you through superficiality, and for the sins we have sinned against you through stubbornness.
על חית שחטא לפניך בתשומת יד, ועל חית שחטא לפניך בתימהון לבב. ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו.
Turn to page 243. So we address God as Avinu Malkeinu. We address God both as a parent who judges us lovingly and as a ruler who judges us according to the strictest letter of the law, appealing to God's multiple attributes with this beloved prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, we have sinned in your presence. The ark is opened, top of page 243.
Avinu Malkeinu, חטאנו לפניך.
Avinu Malkeinu, חטאנו לפניך.
Avinu Malkeinu, אין לנו מלך אלא אתה.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu,
אבינו מלכנו, עשה עמנו למען שמך. אבינו מלכנו, חדש עלינו שנה טובה. אבינו מלכנו, בטל מעלינו כל גזירות קשות. אבינו מלכנו. אבינו מלכנו, החזירנו בתשובה שלמה לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו, החזירנו בתשובה שלמה לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו, שלח רפואה שלמה לחולי עמך.
אבינו מלכנו, שלח רפואה שלמה לחולי עמך.
אבינו מלכנו, זוכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו, זוכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר זכויות.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר זכויות.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר סליחה ומחילה. אבינו מלכנו, שמע קולנו, חס וחלום עלינו.
אבינו מלכנו, חוננו ועננו. אבינו מלכנו, חוננו ועננו, כי עמנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו. Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha, Avinu Malkeinu, Amol aleinu, ve'alol aleinu, ve'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kali teven, v'cherev v'rav, me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kali chol tzar, u'mastin me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu b'sefer chayim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chodesh aleinu, Chodesh aleinu, Shana tova. Chodesh, Shana tova, Shana tova, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have mercy on us, answer us for our deeds are insufficient, deal with us charitably and lovingly, and redeem us. The ark is closed. We continue with Kaddish Shalem, page 245.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביום נכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יש מרבה מבורך לעולם לא נהומיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויפר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתעטר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודש הבריחו לעילה ולעילה שירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש צאתון ובאותון דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דיבי שמיה ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ויעל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
Page 246, please rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושבי קרוב בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת זו בגבי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו איnon, אמן מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו. כן, נקבל לכם. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
May be seated. Page 248, the Psalm for the season of repentance. LeDavid Adonai Orivi Shimi Mi Ira Naimos Chaimechad. אחת שאלתי
לדוד אדוני אויבי שמי מאיר, אדוני מעוז חיי אבחר, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה, וכישבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי. לולא האמנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים, קבל אדוני חזק ואמיץ ליבך וקבל אדוני.
Turn back to page 247 for the Mourner's Kaddish. I invite those in mourning or observing a yortzeit to rise and join me in the words of the Kaddish, page 247. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divera kirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala ubizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevorach leolam ulamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May be seated. I call again on Amy Yudoff, representing the Temple Israel Board of Trustees.
All right, thank you, Rabbi Wilkin Cantor-Listic for leading us in a meaningful Kol Nidre service, and to Nico for live streaming for us, and hello from all of you at home. The beautiful flowers on the bima were donated by Pearl and Alan Mann, and Liba and Harold Russo, in loving memory of their parents, Lila and David Mann, Doris and Al Russo, Mary and Salmon Wanowich, and grandparents Pincus and Liba Wanowich, and Abraham and Goldie Kaplan. The white kippot were donated by Jody and Stuart Cohen in memory of their parents Ethel and Jimmy Cohen, and Louis and Marlene Goldsticker. Traditional Shachrit service will begin at 9 a.m. in the Mindy Ellen Levine Chapel, and the family service will begin at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning in the Morris and Sylvia Spiesman Sanctuary. If you missed our Rosh Hashanah family service, I encourage you to come. It was really beautiful to see so many young families, packed house in the front here. It was really nice. So even if you don't have kids, just come and pop in. It's really pretty to see. The main service will begin with the Torah service at 10 a.m. and Yizkor will begin approximately at 11:30. There will be a gentle stretch and movement in the chapel at 2 p.m. with Jackie Kaplan, followed by a study session at 4 p.m. with Rabbi Wolk. And then Niela and the shofar blast will be followed by a breakfast around 8 p.m. And mark your calendars for December 3rd when Temple Israel's annual fundraiser and concert will take place. This year will feature Cantor Shira Lissick and cantor Dan Singer. It will be an extraordinary evening of music and an opportunity to honor a Shofar Award recipient along with a silent and live auction. It will be an exciting and fun event at Temple Israel. Ticket and sponsorship information will be available soon. We also left light reading material. If you want to take it, it has a lot of events that are coming up over the next couple of months at Temple Israel, so take this with you, and we hope to see you there. And Shana Tova to you and your loved ones. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Amy. We conclude Kol Nidre services with the singing of Yigdal, page 250.
Yigdal Elohim chai ve'yishtabach Nimtza b'genei tametiuto Echad v'en yachid ke'yichudo
Ne'elam v'gam ein sof le'achduto
Ein lo demut haguf v'eino guf Lo na'aroch elav kedushato
Admon lechol davar asher nivra Rishon v'en reshit le'reshito
Hino Adon olam v'chonotar Yoreh gedulato u'malchuto
Shefa nevuato netano Eloshei segulato v'tifarto
Lo kam be'Yisrael k'Moshe od Navi u'mabid et emunato
Torah temen natan le'amoel Al nevio neman beito
Lo yachal Yifa'el ve'lo yamir dato le'olamim lezulato
Sofer v'yodea zitarenu Ma'abid lesof davar be'kadmato
Gomel le'ish chesed kemifalo Noten le'rasha ra kerishato
Yishlach leket yamin
Meshichenu
Liftot mechakeket Yeshuato
Metim yechayel berov chasto Baruch adei Hashem tehilato Metim
Yechayel berov chasto Baruch adei
Hashem tehilato
L'shana tova techatemu. May you be sealed for a good year. Good yantiv.
Shana Tova.